Listen, got me, didn't.
Oh, look, here we go. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of the Felon to Phenomenal podcast, where we give you the information, inspiration. And if you join the community, you get connected to resources. You get to hear from two people on their own personal journey from Felon to Phenomenal to let you know it is possible because boys aren't here as scared to talk about it. And that leaves people who need to know how they don't know how, so we telling you how we doing it and sharing resources and information so you can know how to do it too. And I am your host. I am your Felon to Phenomenal coach, reentry specialist, Coach T, for the win. Also DJ TNT, and joined as always with my bro Ham T Terrence, Terry, frontline Dulo, Tyler, in
It's
the
still
building.
lost.
Doulas, my bad. I can't I
Yeah,
can't speak.
it's all
Doulas.
right.
What's going on, my guy?
What's
Oh my
going
bad.
on? What's happening?
Fresh off a cruise. While on parole. Okay, y'all say y'all can't go nowhere. Look, when I was on probation, I was just leaving and just praying that I stayed out of trouble. But he did it right. Got his papers. Got permission. Cause
Hey, just
I
to
was
let y'all know, that's a personal journey. I gotta do it right like that because if I don't do it right like that, that's gonna open up a door to some things that I ain't trying to open the door.
Well, I'm gonna keep it a book with you. When I had my probation officer, my last probation officer, which she was real cool. She helped me get off early. But when I kind of told her what I had going on, that I'm a DJ and I had an opportunity to travel, she just kind of hit me with what the courts normally do. You know how they look at that. Like certain professions they don't respect, and DJ seemed to be one of them. She was like, and based off of the judge that I had, she was like, 9 times 10 it's not gonna get approved. But I ain't telling you what to do. But if you can be responsible, do you. I had to seize my opportunity because at that point in time, I wasn't making enough to even meet ends, to even pay fees. So all I did was I stayed under the radar. I didn't rent no cars. I stayed in my hotel. I didn't do nothing. I was in the city, out the city, until I was able to complete my probation. There are some risks involved. And getting your life back together. And sometimes you got to fly under the radar. But like you said, it's based off of who you are.
Right?
You
Absolutely.
understanding not opening that door, but at the same time, let's keep it a book. Yours was for entertainment. I'm trying to work.
Right.
So that's another thing too to consider. If you just trying to go somewhere just to fool around and waste your time, well, I don't mean to say fool around, but I'm just making a point of the difference between if for
I
being
think
for work or
we
for
get
entertainment.
yeah. I think we get the concept of what you're saying because
Yeah,
just because you're busy don't mean you're busy doing something
you
productive.
productive, right, right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
So you're basically saying you're having intentions in what
Yeah,
you were doing rather than just being a busybody.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Or doing something productively. But yeah, which is a big fact because the interesting is about it when I talk to a lot of the other guys that I've been incarcerated with that I was going on a cruise and they was always like on parole. They all speaking like as if it was impossible. I was like, oh yeah, all you gotta do is go through the board and the permission in order to do that. I mean, and then they're gonna take you through the ropes where they want to know every point, every where you going, who you going. They want to get all in their business as well. But at the same time, it still can be done. Like
hey man, that impossible piece I learned, when doing my research trying to help people out. And the first thing, you really need a vision. You need to see your life so many years in the future without limitations, without all these barriers that we have. So but most people like to put the how before they even have the vision. So once you
absolutely
have a vision, then you can put the how. So how is not a wrong question. It's just a right time to put that in.
preparation,
If you
right?
put it in before you even think about what you're really trying to do, you know, they don't understand. You prepare for that moment. You
Right.
came out, you did what you had to do. You opened yourself up to living life and exploring. So it lined up. It wasn't that, oh, somebody just taking me out. because I'm out of jail, and so how am I going to do this? No, you prepared and planned for it.
Right.
So it worked out, and then you find out how it went through the proper channels. It's just that we try to do too much without even having a real idea or vision around it. So they just couldn't grasp it, man. It's crazy.
Man, first before I get in piggyback off her point, shout outs for Coach T, looking professional, got the microphone right there in front of her. Yeah, she's stepping her game on in the process. One more time, shout out Coach T, I see you, baby.
Hey, slow boogie better than no boogie, man. It's gonna get to where it get to,
Absolutely,
man. I'm tired of having
absolutely.
that feedback. Gotta have that sound quality, but I need the people to stay on and listen to what
You
we
hear me?
talking about. I don't need to be like, man, that sound funny. You know what I'm
They can
saying?
hear every syllable that's being spoken, except the ones that we stumbling on.
Oh
We gonna
yeah,
have
yeah,
them.
don't worry
Yeah, we
about
gonna have
that.
them over. Yeah, don't worry about that. Hey, look, talk to us
Don't
nice,
worry
like she
about
said.
that.
But to piggyback off of what you're saying, the plan and the planning and the preparation, and as far as knowing the hows, it's the same concept that we trying to put and invest in the people that don't understand themselves. You know what I mean? They understand what they want and what they want to gain, but they don't understand how to gain it in a way that's going to deem them successful and effectively further on. So
Well, I gotta challenge you there
what's
when
up?
you're talking about what people want. I don't think people know what they want. That's the purpose behind Felon to Phenomenal. I think a lot of things that we want are influenced by outside people and the society that we live in. I mean, we're in America. We're in a capitalistic society.
Absolutely.
If you have a vision, or I mean, not even a vision, if you have the desire to have money, but you don't even know what you're good at, you putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
So, and opening yourself to do anything for money, or put yourself in uncomfortable positions for money, outside of whatever you got to do as the groundwork to develop yourself.
Right. And that's along the lines like what I'm talking about. I guess I didn't explain it like that. So like a person knows that he wants some money. So
Mhm.
in that sense, any opportunity to make that money presents themselves, they're gonna jump on. You know what I mean? Especially when a hard time come on. And at the end of everything that glitter ain't gold. We hear this all the time. We don't necessarily know what that means. It's a look, I had to learn this the hard way. Everything has a cost. Period.
Mhm.
When you think you ain't gotta pay the cost for something, is wrong. That's just how life is. You're gonna have to pay some type of form of fashion of cost of in order to benefit from something. No matter who the person is, what the person is talking about, what the person is gonna give you, there is a cost to everything in order to receive that benefit.
And what
So,
some of those costs look like?
for instance, I was brought up from the streets, so I sold drugs for a living. And I ended up going to jail for something that I wasn't even about. But I know I needed the money. So I was willing to do something that I had no experience or even desire to do in order to obtain that money in order to get it. But
Well, what are we
back to
talking
your
about?
question. So huh?
Well, what did you have to do? I mean, the people don't know you, man. We got to keep it. We got to make it plain, man. You already did your
Oh,
time. They can't come back on you.
oh yeah, I started participating in aggravated robbery.
And that wasn't your brand. That
That's
wasn't what you was into.
definitely not my. I don't take
Yeah,
nothing. I don't need to. I can get my own. I don't need
yeah,
nobody's anything. I'm a
yeah,
go getter.
yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I don't
But
need yours in
but
that
the money
concept.
got funny.
The money got really. What happened is my product that I needed got funny. So
Mm.
therefore, I needed to find a way to get the product. I wasn't even going to get their money. I just needed the person with the product in order to make my money off of my clientele. That was the whole concept. But in that game, I was told you either dead or go to jail. Those are the costs that they say it was. And to a person, we like, man, we gonna go when we gonna go. So that's not scary to be dead or to go to jail. To go to jail, we ain't never been there before. If you haven't been there, so you really like, it's really not anything that puts any type of fear in you substantially to make you be like, you know what, I didn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? But until you get there and you start seeing the circumstances, the fact that you lose yourself. Why? Because now the self sufficiency that you had is no longer there. You lose that. The ability to achieve and accomplish anything. Now you losing that. Now you losing self worth. You losing a family that's standing behind you. They're no longer close range to give you that fiction that you drive up, that motivation, that encouragement, that support. Because you even lose that with some of the family members because they like, look, we're not gonna support you if you're taking these chances. Know what I mean? You lose that emotional connection because anybody that's been incarcerated for a period of time knows that you don't have no emotional connection with anybody. Everybody in there for themselves to get the best benefit for themselves. So you lose that. You lose your freedom. You lose your choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that we lose when we put ourselves in a predicament to go to that penitentiary. And when that you put your family through a lot. I go visit my homeboy right now. I just left Friday. And the one thing I said when I went through those metal doors and they wanted to pat me down, I say, man, I sure don't miss this part.
Ha ha.
Our family has to go through that.
Yeah.
Not to mention they have to drive millions of hours. Being exaggerated here by saying million, but they got to drive hours in order to get to you, hours to come back, in order to just to spend time with you and to be with you and be connected. Something they wouldn't be able to do then. These are costs, man, that we're putting our family through and ourselves through. That we lose it off of those decisions to get something the wrong way.
That's good. Well, look, man. So let's see what I wanted to talk about today, because it's been on my mind for a little while, based off of past podcasts that we've had, and also based off of my career path and things like that. Why do you think people want to be entrepreneurs?
That's a good question.
Oh yeah, we about to dig deep. Yeah, yeah, we about to
That's a
wax deep. I'm gonna
that's a
try
good
to at
question.
least.
That's a good question.
I'm gonna
And
try
the
to.
only
And
thing
and,
that comes,
and then okay, well, first of all, so that's
go
one.
ahead. Go ahead.
What's wrong with a 9 to 5, and what's wrong with climbing the corporate ladder? Just to add a little bit more flavor to it. So yeah, first off, why do you think people want to be entrepreneurs? That's the end thing right now.
To be financial dependent, not to be up under somebody else's, leisure as far as like how much money you can make under their control, under their authority. They just want to have their own, and just not to be because when you
Okay.
when
Well, I'm look. I'm gonna have to interject a lot here. Um, the the financial limitations, not being boxed in by financial limitations, I can see that.
okay,
But when you come with that concept of not being under anybody else's leadership or not following anybody else's rules, when you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, your clients are your bosses.
absolutely,
Like there's no such thing as not having a boss. Now I do understand being able to make your own hours, and they're not limited by the money. But if people don't, they didn't pay attention to how much the cost is for when you make a bad decision. When you are an entrepreneur, you work for yourself. You work way more than a 9 to 5. You work 9 to 5, you can clock out and throw your hands up. You when you're an entrepreneur, it's always at
you
your reach, and you have
right,
to turn it off to spend time
right,
and do other things if you have a family or you just have other responsibility.
right. I mean, I totally agree with that. I probably heard your question wrong,
No,
and
I just said why do people want to be
oh
entrepreneurs?
yeah, you did say
No,
why do people?
but
Okay, that's
this is
not
the
what
thing.
I think about being an entrepreneur because I agree with you on that
Yeah.
because even in the instance that your clients are your bosses, even as an entrepreneur and being a business owner, you're still required to be under some type of litigation. Like you have to be under some form of state requirements as far as what you can do and what you cannot do as far as your business. Like
Oh,
for
you talking about if somebody got an LLC and all that. Well, look,
well, yeah,
on the entrepreneur journey, you got to first start making money before, like, okay, I know you have your very strategic people who want to go out there and get their LLC first and put all this money up front before they even have one client. That's not how I view the game. Now that works for you if you have a large capital to work with, but first you got to have clients. You have to know that you can work this business and make money before you go create a tax entity where you have to pay yearly, and
Now,
you
why do
haven't
you say
even
that won't work for you?
why
Getting
won't
the LLC first before you actually get a client.
how I'm gonna pay for the LLC? How I'm gonna keep paying for it? Like I said, it's a tax entity that I'm going to have to pay taxes for every month. How I'm gonna pay for it if I have not proven to myself that my business idea works?
Absolutely.
Like that's what the terms grassroots come from. You
Mhm.
start first, then you legitimize. It becomes a hustle before it's a business.
Right.
And that's just my viewpoint because I don't have money to just throw away and try to create something, just to be quote unquote legal.
Right. Legal to what? Something that you haven't even obtained it yet.
I
Because
haven't even started.
if
I
you
don't
don't
know
even
if
have clients, right? If you don't have any clients, you're just getting the legal paperwork behind to hold something for something that you haven't even established yet. First, you have to build a clientele, and then allow that to kind of pay for everything else that you need as far as the business. That's the way I see it as well. It's starting from the ground up. Um, that's why I didn't mind, starting with my job, going from there. Because to be honest with you, that's what the streets taught me. Um, I now to be fair, I never equated the two as far as what you're saying with entrepreneurship. You actually have to work for the money first.
Mhm.
That is just something that I knew naturally to do on my own, just because I didn't want anybody else to be a participant in control of what I wanted to build and establish myself. But I
Mhm.
never knew that those two was actually like they ran together for an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Okay. Well, yeah. So this whole conversation just kind of sparked because I have a classmate that I went to college with, and he bartended all through college, and now he's graduated as a physical therapist, which is a doctor. But he continued to bartend, and he bartended at some of the biggest clubs here in Houston, and he opened a bar, and I was like, that makes sense. You bartend 10 plus years and then you open a bar outside of your love for physical therapy. He still did that too. And I bring that up to you because you talk a lot about businesses, and you talked a little bit about how you explored the Chick-fil-A thing and it didn't work out. Look how you wanted to look. I don't know a lot about franchises, but I mean, you're currently working at a restaurant and you've been working your way through the ranks, and it seems like it's almost kind of like you got a climbing the corporate ladder situation here to lead into your restaurant. It sounds like you could be one of those stories like, hey, I own this restaurant and I started washing dishes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it also seemed like you're trying to do something different from that.
I am, and those technically are the things that I've been evaluating with myself, as far as climbing that ladder. Um, my decision to like become a prop for management and stuff like that, and also considering the fact that I didn't just start working in the restaurant business like currently when I got out of the prison.
Oh yeah.
I've been working in the restaurant business since I was a kid.
All
What
right,
they
well, let's
didn't
run it
know,
down. Run it down. When you started.
I started technically when I was 15.
Okay. Where at? Dairy Queen?
Mac McDonald's.
Okay.
No, it was McDonald's. But this is the thing. I started there, then I went to several other restaurants.
Mhm.
Um, remember we worked at Outback Steakhouse together. I
Mhm.
did Terrytown Estates, which I was a
Mhm.
cook there. It's a assisted living
Mhm.
place. I also I worked at the Jack in Box when I came home. What other restaurants did I work at before those?
I don't know. That's quite
You
a
know
few.
what? I think it is quite a fruit there. But this is the thing that I'm bringing, like that I bring into effect. Before I start doing the restaurant business, I was actually cutting yard, pushing baskets, taking out trash, going to people's houses and ask them like, is there certain things that they needed to be done in order for me to make some change? Getting a food stamp card, going to buy a bunch of junk candy and food and stuff like that. And once I didn't no longer have access to that, that's when my criminality started as a child. I actually started stealing that type of stuff. I got a group of people together while my good suave mouth stayed at the counter, talked to the guy at the counter while everybody else was filling up their bags in order to continue the business, to go to the school and continue to sell this free stuff that I was getting for funds.
Well, let's take a step back while you just brought that up because in my 6 o'clock meeting, one of my colleagues she presented a topic today about money and banking, but she first introduced it with the money blueprint, and she asked us to take a deep breath and close our eyes and think about the first thought or idea that we had about money. What was the first time we were connected to money and what happened? And you kind of just described something similar to that. So that guided you on how you handled money. So
Absolutely.
I want to kind of put a little bit more description to you were able to get snacks and candies with the food stamp, and then what was the transition, and then like kind of if you could describe how you view money and what inspired and how did you come up with the concept of taking to get it, like
It's kind of like the same thing of what I did before I got incarcerated. I
okay,
knew I needed the product in order to serve my clients that were committed to buying from me. So therefore, I had to find a way in order to get that product. Why didn't I think as a kid to go and buy it on my own? And then because I didn't see the amount of profit coming from what I was getting for the product that I was paying for. Because the only
okay,
reason why it worked for me with the food stamps is because I wasn't paying for the product at all. Then
okay.
to go and sell it for that price or either for a cheaper price,
That's it.
all was a profit.
That's it. That's it. That's your first experience with money. So it was a
Right.
food stamp. It was you never paid for it. It wasn't out of your own money.
It wasn't out of my own
Ah,
money.
that's crazy.
Why you say that's crazy? Share.
Because look what I just said. Your first interaction with money was an exchange without money. So you never included it. I mean, it was like by any means. It was like,
Right.
I'm going to get what money can buy, but by any means. It doesn't matter if I have money or not because your
Right.
exchange was with a food stamp. Food stamps is not money.
No,
It's a
it's not.
government exchange. It's a IOU. The government got you. You know,
Exactly.
you didn't work for that money to go get what was acquired and then come back and do the exchange. Oh, I spent this and I made this. No, you technically got this and you made this.
And you made it. Right. And was able to make a profit off of it.
Wow, that's interesting. And that guided you for a while.
It did.
Yeah,
It guided me for quite a bit of time.
yeah.
Technically, yeah. Like that came along the lines of as far as like what initiated for me, and then from there, that's when I actually started doing the same thing. So I guess after that, it's kind of like the same thing because after
So
I
you
started
never
doing,
got in trouble? When was the first time you got in trouble
I
operating
never
like
got in
that with
trouble.
money?
I didn't get in trouble for anything until I was a teenager.
Uh,
I didn't even get in trouble with selling drugs until I was an adult.
yeah.
I got in trouble for other
So
things
that's what I'm
before I
saying.
got
It was never the correction of this is wrong.
never with the
This is not
correction
how
that this
you
was wrong.
manage money. Or I mean, this is not how you handle items
I
for money.
never had
Not how you
items for money. I never had that correction.
dang.
So
That's
then that's a lifelong conditioning of thinking that this is right.
right.
Because one thing that I do know about criminality is that we're no different than anybody else.
Hmm.
We fear the situation. It's just that conscience is sheared after so many times of getting away with it
Hmm.
that you no longer allow that fear to captivate you in that particular time. So then you kind of become numb to it and you continue doing it and then it becomes a habit and then boom, you get popped. But then after that, it's like the same kind of process.
Gotcha. Yeah, nah, man. My first encounter with money was I was about, I don't know, 10 or 11. And I don't know if y'all know, but I'm 40 years old. Okay, so 10 or 11, hip hop wasn't that big of a deal. So what they would do is Coca Cola would put together these compilation cassettes and sell them on the commercial and say for 99 cents you can have this compilation CD. I mean, sorry, cassette. It probably had CNC.
They ain't talking about no CDs.
Probably had CNC Music Factory, probably Crisscross, probably Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, whatever. I wanted that cassette. And I knew where my grandmother kept her checks. And I wanted that cassette so bad that I found that check, I wrote it, and I mailed it to Coca Cola. And I got in trouble because the cassette came in the mail. So
Oh,
my relationship with money is that it could get me what I wanted.
okay.
So I would know that I would have to earn it. Like I knew that what I was doing was wrong, and I immediately I got a whooping for it. I got one of the bad whoopings. I think I was fresh out the bathtub or something like that.
Woo,
But
get
I'm
you
like, look,
wet.
but but they recognized my love for music from a young age, and they still let me have the cassette. And here I am, a DJ
Mm,
to this day.
that's good.
You know what I'm saying? So,
That's a good share too.
yeah. So even though they punished me for me overstepping boundaries, you know what I'm saying, with writing a check, they recognized that I did have a love for music, and they still gave me the tape,
Okay,
so I can appreciate that. So
that
that
was
was
good. So they
my
corrected the wrong at the same time, but then allowed and supported the right. That's what
mm,
I basically look for. Okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
I guess that shows the difference between you and I than with our situation.
Yeah, I
That's a big
mean,
difference.
though it's little steps along the way that matter. Yeah, that yeah. I guess you could. You don't really know if anything will have made a difference. I
Right.
mean, it's a part of
You
your
don't.
journey at this point.
Exactly. Because okay, to further along after that situation, that's when I started cutting yard and I actually started pumping gas, like going up to people at the gas station. Hey, can I pump your gas to make some money? Even to the police station. Hey, can I take y'all trash out? You know, to make some money. So
But
it's
yeah,
still
you can do that though because but as far as like even me meeting you, you know what I'm saying, at what 14, 15, yeah, you worked for a little while, but you still
yeah,
had that guiding mentality at that time.
right.
Yeah.
It
And,
just
and you
enhanced
get
more.
tired of working and then you
Exactly.
start taking.
And then I started taking. It's that same. It's that same mentality. It's like okay, yeah, right.
It
Which
was
is that
it on the basis it wasn't coming fast enough.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a good point to make as far as like now with the struggle that I'm going through right now.
Mhm.
Even with that, by trying to implement a business and get into something that I know that's for me, uh, and just finding that niche, I
Yeah.
would say, and just having this conversation is good. What is your answer to the first question that you asked? What does people
Oh, why do I think people want to be entrepreneurs?
why people want to be entrepreneurs? Yeah.
Um, well, definitely in this generation and time, it's kind of a buzzword. It's something people assume a lot about, and one of the assumptions is, I can't work for nobody. I ain't gonna have no boss. You discrediting the clients that you serve. Because as a DJ, I work for all my clients. They get on my nerves sometimes, with all due love and respect. But it's like you hire me for a job, let me do it. But I understand people have different levels of, apprehension or concern with whether you work with them before or things that just come a part of the business.
Right.
Um, I'll be
And the
honest.
government, the fact that you got to pay taxes off of you being your own boss as well. So
Yeah.
that's similar to like being a boss.
Oh yeah, we're having yeah,
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 government in your pocket. Yeah, somebody you
yeah.
got to listen to. You
Right,
want to stay in business.
right.
But I have to be honest. I never thought of being an entrepreneur. I think a lot of the people who become successful don't just really set out to say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. They're filling a gap or a void or being creative or stepping out on something that they believe in or that they are true to. I
Mm.
think entrepreneurship is helpful, especially if you have a background and you're trying to overcome something and you have a skill set, or you're willing to go attain a knowledge to have a skill set, such as trades are dying, as far as like electrician, HVAC, plumbing. And when I say dying, they're lower numbers. Back in the day, years ago, it used to be a larger community of individuals who did those services. It's not that much now because we came from a generation of go to college, get a degree, you know, a time frame where they didn't talk up trade schools. So now there's a need for that, and you don't necessarily have to go work for a company. You can freelance that. You can be an entrepreneur.
When you
And
say freelance, what do you mean by that?
well, you have freelance and you have gig economy, which is the stepping stones to entrepreneurship. So this is what this is. I have a particular skill. I shop my services to individuals who need those skills, or maybe smaller businesses. But I work for myself.
Okay,
It's
like a
just
private contractor.
yeah,
Okay,
1099. Yeah, yes,
no, no, right.
contract work.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
and so when you have that skill set, or you're willing to work on a skill set, you start there. That's the hustle part.
Right,
The
because
gig
I
economy.
know some people that actually did that on a personal level,
Mhm.
and man, they make a lot of money.
Mhm.
Uh, which is crazy just off of some of the simplest things. For instance, mounting became very popular and well known where everybody wants to mount their TVs and stuff like that, and just see how many people had just learned that skill and become personal contractors themselves in doing that. And hey, you get paid quite a bit of money. Personal training.
Mhm.
A lot of people has worked out,
Mhm.
got themselves looking good and everything, and everybody clings to that. It's what you call that word, entrepreneur. You said a buzzword. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like a buzzword that a lot of people are now becoming personal trainers. Like
Mhm.
on my Instagram
Why
page.
you ain't a personal trainer? You like to work out.
See what I mean?
No, but look. This what I'm
I was just
saying.
about to
Like
say the same thing.
this,
Right.
this is what kind of got me thinking about this because I'm thinking about who you're becoming and who you're working on being, and it's like some of the things. To be honest, when you talk about your aspiration, they kind of things that we used to talk about. So I don't know if they like in general, like the business, the Bugatti, that kind of thing. I was like, okay, is that does that apply to you now? Not saying that you can attain those things, but I'm saying
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes it sounds like the money is first. But I was like, well,
right.
if you go
I
by who you are and what you're doing, it's like, hey, it sound like sound like you can own a cheesecake factory, sound like you could be a trainer, sound like and it still ain't jumped into the advocacy work with the fatherless sons like you talked about. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like,
right.
it's just a lot of things that you've been processing and working through, and I just want to know which ones resonate with you the most, as you on this journey of figuring yourself out and crossing this out and checking this out and redoing this. You know what I'm saying? Where you at?
I can tell you lately, I have been thinking about that uh, very much so. And in that thought process, I had to question myself: am I still in that space where the money is first? And is this the motivation as far as my movements and everything? And I continually remind myself of those days. I never forget it. Shout out to you, the millionaire next door. I quote a phrase in that book that he goes by so often is when you are working, you don't work for money, you work for knowledge. And I have to consistently tell myself that, not on a daily basis, but on a consistent basis. And what I mean by that, because it surfaces up every time that it seems like I am willing to do whatever for that money when I don't even need it right now, when I'm not even hurting in that aspect, but I just want to get it to store up. So I question myself that same question that you're asking, and I'm in the process right now of trying to, you know, reevaluate some things with myself. And like, I appreciate the fact that you asked me to do the podcast. I had a major headache earlier today before I did the book club. That headache don't even exist anymore. One thing I do know is when I get in those elements, I get a energy inside of me, and that just drives and motivates and just push. Like, there's nothing. I can be down on my last 2 hours and just ready to crash, but I get into my element, it just skyrockets. So I look forward to these things. You know what I mean? So it definitely causing me to reevaluate those things, and that's why I pulled back from the Cheesecake Factory. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm in a restaurant business right now, not because this is something that I want to consider as where I'm gonna invest myself as far as a business wise, because it was the first step to get to an easy route to bring some funds in.
Oh yeah, no,
I didn't
we
want
can't scratch that off the table at all. You know what I'm
right,
saying? With somebody
yeah,
reestablishing themselves and the
right,
jobs that are available.
right,
If you don't know, the restaurant industry, yes, is one of the first jobs you can get. They don't do no
right,
background checks, and depending on the restaurant that you pick, they have the hours, they got the work. You can, you
absolutely,
can get your feet, you know what I'm saying, get your feet wet, get your pockets,
exactly,
lined up. Now,
exactly.
so shout out to the restaurant industry, man, for
Come on, get
showing
out there,
love,
right?
for real,
You
because
don't even need the programs for the restaurant business. The
yeah,
restaurant
nah.
business, they come in and get
Yeah.
you some.
What you
We got
say,
something
T?
for
The
you.
restaurant, the restaurants like the yards, huh? Restaurant ain't nothing but the yard.
Ain't nothing but the yard. Big facts. I'm telling you, man, y'all got a lot of experience. I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all got this experience when you was working in that kitchen inside them things, but let the people know what you was doing in that kitchen when you was behind them bars. Just tell them you work for the state. You ain't gotta say you was in prison. Just put when they say what's the company name, say state.
Like,
You
yeah,
put state right there and put your description of what you was doing and how many
absolutely.
how long you was doing it. Fill out that
That's
application right there.
exactly
They
what you're
want that
supposed to do.
experience. Yeah,
That's
but
exactly what
so
you're supposed
yeah,
to
that's kind of like what I was doing, and that's why I moved away from the Chick-fil-A thing, because
do.
I realized it's moving away for the very thing that you just pointed out to me right now. What I was first introduced to with money,
Hmm.
passive income is where it's at because my time is valuable, and I want to invest it somewhere else.
Hmm.
This is the motivation to me being successful financially. That's
Yeah.
what made me really wanted to come back when it came to me again when I was on my beginning stage of my spirituality, with my walk with God. When He starts telling me like, "This is what I want you to do. This is what I'm calling you for. This is who you are, and this is the talent that I gave you. You utilize that to support yourself while you're here. But this is what I want you to do." So with that, that's good. So in that sense, I'm really kind of trying to get into that passive area where I'm able to not spend my money and make that money at the
Hmm.
same time, but have the
What you
time
mean
to
not
do what
spend your money? You got bills and stuff now. What you talking about?
I'm not talking about the bills. I'm talking about to invest as far as the product.
That's part. Well, I mean,
It is a part of it,
so
but
either you gonna spend money with real
you
estate
gotta
or
remember, I'm
investment over
also
long term,
building credit at the same time.
or you gonna create something. Okay, building
So by
credit. What you
building the
talking about?
credit
Getting a
gives
line of credit?
it gives me a loan to be able to utilize their money in order to invest in something to initiate it.
Okay, I understand that.
That's
Okay,
that's what I mean by that. So that
but that still sounds like a process.
it is definitely a process.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
in the beginning stage of that process.
okay.
These are some of the things that I realized because I just found out what kind of credit score you got to have in order to get a good, a nice house.
You just need like a 630, a 650, or something like that.
To, to
As
get
a
like one
first,
of these.
as a first time buyer, trying to get what, like
Okay,
a house that costs how much?
I'm talking about like in 200,000, 175,000, 200,000,
Nah, you
two
ain't even
thirty,
talking
something
about
like that.
that.
Right
Yeah,
now,
you talking about at least what 240 to 300,000. I mean, just talking about
basically,
what the houses are like.
right.
Yeah, Cause you
Basically,
talking
on
about
what I'm
that
talking about.
175? That's like my grandma neighborhood.
Okay, well then that's what I'm not talking about. Then
Yeah,
I'm talking about 230 and 240 on up. Then
yeah.
so with that, you got to have a nice credit score. They looking for something.
Well, that's questionable. Only on the basis
It might be
of
because I don't
no,
really
no, no,
know.
no. Only on the basis of first time buyer situation.
Oh,
They
okay.
got they got a whole lot of first time buyer program.
Go away,
So
sir.
and based off the different type of loans you can get,
Oh,
so
okay.
you can get in there with like a 650 and only have to pay like 3.5% stuff like that. But it depends
Right,
on what you eligible for.
right.
But even with that, okay, so what? What you
I
need?
know that
What
I
you
know
need?
that I know that, but I'm just saying with that is like I know there's still a process too to
No, I'm
go
saying what's
through
the
with
credit
that.
score? What's the credit
What's
score?
my credit score right
No,
now?
no, 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 no. What you saying that you need? Like if you
800, 800 plus.
what? Who said that?
I mean,
Uh,
that's what I seen from experience. I had a seven something, and I
yeah.
still only got approved for like $160,000 house.
Oh, well, I
And
mean,
I don't know if that was because of my credit history too, though, because that might be a
yeah.
factor because I
I
don't have long
mean,
credit history,
it may
and
be.
the fact of the income
Yeah, I'm about to say
that
it's
I got coming in.
a lot of other
Yeah, because you're
factors.
right. There's the other factor because it was also like if you had more avenue coming in, that you could probably get more pre-approved for something that's more. So
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't even think about that too. Yeah, you're
but
right.
at the same time, that's only looking at it from the loan aspect. Because if that's what you approve for, and then you have another $150,000 saved, then you can
Add
you
to it,
come add some cash, yeah, to
add
it,
some cash to it,
and
and
get your
and that's
$300.
and that's as far as like what I would do when
Yeah.
it comes to it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's just variables in that situation. I
So
don't know.
what was the second question that you had though? You had another question like
I was just like, what's wrong with a 9 to 5?
what you think wrong with a 9 to 5?
Well, this is the thing. Coming from somebody with a background, when you're actively on parole or probation, the 9 to 5s ain't really giving you a livable wage or benefits outside of the restaurant industry.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so that was the thing for me. Like it wasn't that I was being picky. I'm looking for the long haul. Like, yeah, my first job getting back, Goodwill donation attendant. That's what I'm working there. 7.25 an hour. Got a whole chemistry degree and all that, but I needed to get back into the workforce. I was trying to get back into the plants, but that wasn't working. They wasn't trying to see me being actively on probation and all that. So it's like I need to establish some work, build my confidence up, and know that I can get a job. Okay, so I did that, and then I'm thinking about next steps. Well, if I'm constantly putting myself out there, um, to get jobs and I'm getting turned down. I'm getting hired on the spot and turned down a week later once the background check come through. You know that's discouraging in its own route. But for me personally, I had a skill set, so
Mm,
I was able to take what was once a hobby, turn it into a hustle. Now I'm a professional. So it's important to learn yourself, have that level of self-awareness. That's what Felon Phenomena does. I help you get to know yourself, what your strengths are, what your and identify skill sets that complement your strengths. But I was thankful to indulge in that early. I found out that I love music at 5 years old. I found out that I love science at 10 years old. And I went to school for chemistry and I became a DJ. Like I kept these things. And I'm thankful that I never got disconnected from these things. So some of us on our journey in life have gotten disconnected from those things that are within us that we are to develop and cultivate. So for me, it's not that something is wrong with a 9 to 5. I just knew who I was, and I was willing to do certain things to give myself greater opportunity.
that's good. it sounds like it's something that maintains you through survival mode until you're able to, get into the space to understanding who you are to thrive in the area that you was in. Because it sounds like the same concept of what you was explaining when it comes to people that starts their business. With the guy at the bar, he
Mhm.
worked in a bar, which really built his clientele. Because now
Mhm.
he's well known, he's socializing, he's
Mhm.
engaging, he's learning, he's practicing. So by the time he do that, all that clientele is going to come to him because they fell in love with him and they supported him in his story. So it kind of sounds like the same thing, like what you were doing. You were utilizing some of the things that you did learn as a child in order to keep you to maintain until you got into the space or where you can, you
But
know.
not even just that. It's like the alignment of doing things that suit you. It's the alignment of doing things that you like and
Mm,
walking along that path. He didn't bartend all that time and complain. He enjoyed it. When we have gatherings, parties, kickbacks, when he wasn't getting paid for it, he was doing it. He enjoyed whatever that is, the creation of it, the entertainment of it, the service of it.
mm,
And now he has a business from it
right,
after so many years of investment.
right. Himself.
Yes.
That's what. That's good stuff. Okay.
So that, yeah, I want to highlight that. Like, it's about, I turned, and I say this all the time, I turned a love for music into a skill.
Right.
Like, I love music. Yeah, okay. Tried to rap, tried to dance. That wasn't my. I wasn't good at that.
Right. I don't know. You can
Yeah,
dance, but
yeah, nah, not no more.
not good. Not good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, look, when you get older, that rhythm don't hit like it used to when you was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Everything
off a
started.
little
Yeah.
bit. You're
Yeah.
off a little
Yeah.
bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, it don't flow like that. Yeah, there, yeah, wanted to be a backup dancer, all that. But this is the thing: with my love for music, I explored and showed interest in all the aspects that surrounded music. So yeah, oh, I thought I could be a backup dancer. Oh, that ain't for me. Thought I could be a rapper. Oh, that ain't for me. Oh, producer. Okay, that's interesting, but it take a lot of work. I ain't really finna do that right now. What could I do right now? Okay, go to college, go to parties. Not really a dancer, but I'm gonna go by the DJ booth, watch the crowd. Dang, okay, he controlling the crowd by the music he selects. I know music. I like music. I'm gonna try that, and that's something that I was able to stick with and develop.
Right.
So that's a part of the journey. That's more of the journey
Right.
that is of alignment that we should be focusing on. But then we have these other influences and distractions and mindsets and things that come into play that get us off track.
Yeah. I can. I can. I can. Yeah. I can definitely say that.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm thankful that I always say, like, I straddled the fence. I had one foot in, one foot out. I was never all the way in on either side. So I'm thankful to be able to navigate and have built something to grow off of. And that's just all that I'm trying to reach back and help people identify those things that they detached from or got off track from that is more in alignment for who they are and what they are. And that's just what I want to double back to you. And man, when Earl Girl talked about that money blueprint, I thought that was good. And just through conversation, you're at a point where you're recognizing that now.
Right.
So
I can definitely say
therefore,
that.
you can continue to make better decisions that is more in alignment with who you are and not facilitated by what you can get, what you can have, and things like that.
Right. Which is good, and that was good information. I need to sit in one of y'all calls next week.
It costs
I
$150 a
need,
month.
I need,
It
I need
costs.
to come.
They wouldn't even let you in. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Yeah, I'm in a group that allows me access to a great network. Facility. I mean, under the umbrella of Eric Thomas, the number one motivational speaker in the world. Uh, but it's an investment, you know. And I remember the first time I made a financial investment in intellectual property, which is something that we don't do, but found so much value in it. And that was something that catapulted me to a space and place where I am now with all the information and the self work that I've done. It's like there's value in that. Like it's not fluff. This stuff is real. Like it's in books. People are out here living it from day to day and achieving the things that they want.
So, excuse me. So, what compelled you to start making financial investments in intellectual property?
Well, shoot, let's talk about it, man.
Oh, T, what's going on?
What
What's
happened?
this? I don't know. It, it started doing some weird stuff. Never mind.
That's on yours. I ain't
I
seen
see
nothing
it. It
different.
is. It is on my end.
You need to charge it. You about to die?
No, it's on
We
the charge.
only. I'm about to say
I
we
keep
only.
it. I keep it on charge.
Well, maybe it's overheated. I don't know.
It should be. It might be. Oh, maybe it is over here.
Hey, sometimes, hey, yeah,
That
scientifically, if something has reached 100% capacity and you still have the charger connected, depending
mhm.
on what kind of charger it is, it could start to pull from the battery.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's when your batteries really don't last very long too.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen
Cause
that in a lot of
you messed up
yeah,
the charge. Now the charge
yeah.
is repelling against each other rather than
Okay.
attracting.
Didn't check. Okay. That's good.
Hmm.
Okay.
But yeah. So what made me invest? Well,
Yeah, what compelled you to invest financially into
we
your
have to go back into what was the question that honestly had me change my life, that sparked my transformation. My question, after I got arrested, lost my job, ran out of unemployment, and it was starting to set in. When our family financially no longer had things, and just sitting in my own mess. And I asked myself, how did I get here? Like, what is it about me that got me here?
that's a good question.
And with that question alone sparked other questions like, who am I, what do I want, and who do I have to become to get it? Well, every everything that I knew at that point had gotten me here, so I needed new information. And then I always say this story. Shout out to my girl Felicia Winner, uh, which is Julie's little sister, Jules. Uh, Shout out to her for sharing a ET video, and he spoke to me. He spoke to character. He spoke my language, and following him, and I was like, this is news I can use.
Right.
And between him and finding other mentors and people, and I think he even had a book list. Et had a book list I downloaded and just started reading the books, and Millionaire Next Door was one of them. Who Moved My Cheese was one of them.
Oh, boy, my
How to,
cheese is good.
yeah, how to win friends and influence people. Shoot, the richest man in Babylon. Yeah, and all this just started transforming me.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
And then being him and pouring into me with all the free content, YouTube, whatever. He had a conference, and it was a speakers conference. It was his first ever one he was doing in Atlanta. I knew they was coming to Houston, but something in me was like, I need to go to this first one. It was $1,000. I took a refund check, spent it, and took a road trip to Atlanta. That was on a Friday. The conference was 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. Came back that Monday, got fired from Goodwill. And it was on since then. It been on since then. I wasn't even mad. I was like, appreciate you.
Right.
Yeah, I already
I
knew what
remember.
time it
I
was.
remember.
I
I remember you
already
was telling
knew.
me about that. Yeah, I remember you
I
telling me
already
about
knew
that.
what time it was. When you
Yeah.
step out there, he gonna make it work.
Right.
Because what happened that same weekend that I did the conference in Atlanta, Eddie, the guy that I'm on tour with now, he called me and say, "Hey, can you do the New Orleans show?" I say, "I can't do it because I have something prior." When I got fired Monday, I call him. I say, "Hey, you need me for any more dates?" He say, "Come on,"
Close that
and
door and open
that's
up
how that
another
went.
by going. Yeah,
And
that's good.
I've been on, yeah, I was on the road, yeah,
And you've been on the
been
journey
on the
since.
road since what, that was 2016. Yeah, 2016.
Ooh, that's 7 years.
Hmm. Well, minus two for COVID. Well, one and a
Oh,
half because we toured a little bit, once it
right.
started opening
Well, I'm
back
about
up.
to.
But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, minus one and a half by two for COVID.
yeah.
Yeah. And that tour gave me notoriety and credibility in the city, and I mean, able to travel the world, and yeah, I'm
Put your
trying.
name out there.
Hey, all that.
Yeah, build your clientele.
Hey, man, yeah. And at that point, yeah, I had been DJing for 10 years. At that point,
Right. Okay.
and it was just a hustle at that time.
Right. Until you turn it into, I guess
So
it's
when I got on the tour, um, and it, my mindset after being exposed to ET and reading all these books, my mindset was I'm going to be of value to the point that you're going to miss me when I'm gone.
mm,
So learning how to be of value in your position.
right.
And what that is what people like to say, excellent customer service, going above and beyond. People say that all the time, but they don't even know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
That means that I'm doing more than expected, but it's out of service because I want this continue to do well and be productive because it is helping me. So I'm going to help it as much as I can. Not going to overexhaust myself, but I'm gonna help it as much as I can.
Right.
So,
That's good. That's real good because right there, you just like you making things lighter and easier for yourself at the same time, and it's building character within yourself in another sense too.
absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was definitely growing pains within that situation, but it was a good time,
Right.
man. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But yeah, man, shoot, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nah, I don't have anything else. I haven't been taking any notes. I had any side thoughts
Yeah.
to put myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
look, are you interested in boxing?
and watching it or doing it. Is that a
Watching it.
car?
Yeah, watching.
Oh, yes, a little bit. A little
Okay.
bit.
Okay. So if you get a chance, watch the epilogue of Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. It was a recent fight that just happened. It's probably about 21, 25 minutes. Um, I
Where's
watch
it at?
boxing. It's on YouTube. So I watch boxing. I'm not that knowledgeable all the way down to the intricacies of it. Now I'm familiar watching it. When heavyweight fights was big, when middleweight fights was big. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., all those people. So now we got a lightweight. It's kind of a big deal. But the two things I wanted to point out from that epilogue:
Oh, it's right here, right now.
watching that
Just
fight,
posting two days ago.
yeah, watching the
Okay.
fight. It's a difference. Now, this ain't no disrespect to Javante Davis, Tank Davis. He is an amazing fighter, but it's a difference between Javante winning that fight and Ryan Garcia losing that fight. Ryan Garcia lost that fight. It wasn't that Javante Davis won it.
Say
And
that
why?
one more time.
Ryan Garcia lost that fight. It wasn't that Javante Davis won. Now, when you watch the epilogue, this is why I say he lost that fight. Ryan Garcia is heavy on that right hand, heavy on that right hand, and he got reckless and opened himself up and
Mm,
lost. Second thing, they got Charlo on there, who is a fighter, and he said, "Oh, I'm going for Ryan Garcia. Javante's the better fighter, but Ryan is a nice guy." How many times do we do that in life? How dare you fight against who's the best at the sport just because you like somebody? How dare you do business with somebody who ain't good at business just because he's a
right.
good guy?
Right.
Like that blew my mind. You
Right.
going for him because he's a good guy. This is about the talent and the success
Right.
in like
And the skill.
yeah.
Does it have what it takes in order to, yeah,
So you
win
put
the
your
fight?
chips on the wrong person because you may not like somebody's attitude. or whatever the case may be, because it's clear Javante is the better fighter. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's all I'm gonna say. Watch that, man. I gotta end
Yeah,
this
I'm gonna
because
check it
if I
out.
go over an hour, I'm gonna have trouble uploading it. So,
Oh, well, you
with
better
all
get off
that,
here. You got
yeah,
9 seconds. You better
y'all be
kill that
productive,
clock.
be impactful, and be critical thinkers, man.